Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders for KW Bonsai. Today we're looking into Catalpa tree bonsais. I know it's a kind of an unusual tree to grow as a bonsai, but I'll talk about Catalpa trees as bonsai. My first Catalpa tree I got about 15 years ago. No, it was probably more like, yeah, it was about 15 years ago. And someone at work gave it to me to plant in my yard, and I did plant 2 of them in my backyard, and I kept one to grow in a pot as a bonsai tree. Here's a shot of the Catalpa tree that's planted in the backyard. It's about 15 years old. Flowering and got beans from last year. And the 2 in the backyard are doing well. They're growing into big trees, and this was the first year they got their seed pods on them. And so in spring, I took one of the seed pods and split it open and planted the seeds, and I think every one of them germinated, and here they are. I've got my little Catalpa tree seeds, or seedlings. And shortly after that, there was by the side of the road there was the leftover stuff from a horticultural sale that they're giving away free, and in that bunch of pots there was a Catalpa tree. So I brought that home, and that's this one. My original Catalpa tree bonsai. My original Catalpa tree bonsai, it got boring insects that bored into the trunk, and it killed the tree. And it was growing quite nicely. The leaves were reducing really well, and it was turning into a nice bonsai tree. So after that one died, I always wanted another Catalpa tree. So that was the reason I planted. That was the reason I planted the seedlings, and now I have a larger one to start off with also. So before we begin any work on this tree, we're going to go look at some Catalpa trees in the area. We're going to go look at some Catalpa trees in the area and check out the trees, what they look like. Now is a good time of the year to take pictures of them because they're in flower. It's June, about June 20th. So you can see on this young tree, it's probably this would be its third. This is its 3rd year from a seedling, and you can see I haven't even tried to reduce the leaf size on it, but they're fairly tiny. A full-size Catalpa tree, the leaves are bigger than my hand, and this one's at least I would say about a quarter of that size, without even trying to reduce the leaf size, just by having it in a pot. And I found on my other Catalpa tree I was growing that the leaves reduced really well. They got quite tiny, which is amazing when you think, you know, the trees normally got leaves this big, and they were down to a very small size. So some of the work that we're going to do on this tree, right now it's just in regular garden soil, and we have to make a decision. I could let it grow in this soil for the rest of the year, and then in spring repot it into bonsai soil and do some root pruning. Or I could repot it out of season, which is, you know, it's a little late. Spring's over, it's getting on to summer, and put it into bonsai soil now and do some root pruning, have the tree live hopefully, and get the roots underway for next year. So what should I do? Well, I am going to repot it. What I've found in the past is if you leave the trees grow in the garden soil, you get, they grow but not real vigorously, and whatever roots are in the pot right now, they'll get worse as the summer goes on. Instead of improving the root system as it grows, all the bad roots will get thicker, and yeah, so that's the reason I'm gonna repot it out of season, just to get the roots underway and get it in some good soil and get a good root system going on it. So first we're going to look at some Catalpa trees around the area, and then we'll come back and do the actual work to this tree. Okay, so here we go for repotting. First thing we'll do is take out all these. I guess this tree was $5 at one time. Take out all the sticks and we'll get the tree out of the pot. I think I'll take the turntable away for now. Reach. Okay, here we go. So there's actually 2 trees in here. So we'll get it out of the pot. Hopefully. Here it comes. That looks like the roots are doing pretty well in this soil. Growing everywhere. It's good. Looks like it's potting soil. There's some vermiculite in it. Yeah, so it wasn't the worst soil in the world. We're going to put it back in this attractive plastic pot, training pot. So the first thing we'll do is start raking the roots out. Getting rid of all this old soil. Yeah, it's got lots of roots. That's good. Now when you're repotting out of season like this, you can't be as aggressive with the root pruning. However, you can still reduce it and get the roots underway. So we're starting from the top and raking outwards in our radial pattern. Hi girls. All the chickens have come over to see what I'm doing. At least the rooster's quiet for now. So you can see we've got a lot of nice fine roots in here. I really like the flowers on the Catalpa tree. They look like orchids. They're just beautiful little flowers. I'm not usually a flower person, but I really like the flowers on the Catalpa tree. Catalpas, there's 2 types of Catalpas. There's a northern Catalpa and there's a southern Catalpa. They're native to North America. And their range is pretty well, mostly all over the United States, mostly towards the east coast. Not too many on the west coast. The southern Catalpa has, I think, a little larger flowers. I'm not sure of the exact differences between the two, but I believe these are northern Catalpas. I'm just assuming they are, coming from this area, but I could be wrong. Okay, so we're getting there. We're going to start combing out from the bottom now. So we'll turn it around so you can see that a bit. And the roots are in pretty good shape on this tree. They're not too tangled and matted. Whoever grew this tree did a really good job. You can see there's some old clay, more clay type soil where it was originally started in, or dug up, or there's some of that clay soil there. So that's one of the reasons you want to repot, you know, even seedlings like this, is that you can get it into good bonsai soil. Roots don't like growing in this clay type soil. It's just too, stays wet too long. There's no air spaces for the roots to grow in. You can see the roots are mainly growing in that new potting soil. Hi. Hi, chickens. All the chickens are over here. Hi. Hi. I guess they're helping me out today. Starting bonsai trees from seed is a really good way to get, you know, the tree you want. If you can't find it in the garden centers, most of the seeds you can collect for free, and it doesn't take that long to get a nice tree out of a seed. There's one guy in the bonsai club, you know, he says, I don't have time to grow bonsai trees from seed. And, you know, 10 years later, he still doesn't have time to grow bonsai trees from seed. So little seedlings can make a great forest if you plant a bunch of maple trees. In 3 to 5 years you can have a quite attractive little forest. To make the trees look mature and old, it takes longer than that, but it's a nice process starting trees from seed and watching them grow up. You have to like the process of growing trees and creating bonsai trees. As I say, trees never finished. So you're always working on them, and if you create a good tree from seed, you can pass them on to other people. If you don't finish the tree or get it looking good in your lifetime, someone else can take it over and they'll have a good tree to start with. Okay, so we've got the 2 trees separated, and a lot of the roots have combed out. I'm going to wash the roots next and clean the table off, and we'll have a good look at them. I've washed the roots, and you can see what's going on here. We've got quite a thick taproot that went down and bends around, takes a weird corner. So we have to pick a root plane. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 roots kind of in the same plane near the surface. So we'll keep those as our surface roots, and everything else will basically get removed. So if this was spring, I would probably cut the roots right off and just leave those surface roots. But because we're potting out of season, I'm going to leave more roots on the tree. So all we're going to do is remove the taproot, and we're going to keep some of these higher up roots for now. So I'm going to cut right in here like that. So there's what we removed, that weird taproot that takes a bend, and we have enough roots to keep the tree alive. And these surface roots will get stronger in the bonsai soil, and hopefully we'll get some new roots growing out there too. And then next time we repot it, we'll cut it further back to a point about here. So that's all the root pruning we're going to do basically on this tree today. We might do a little trimming of these bottom roots. I think we will, just to encourage the top roots to gain vigor. So that's all for that tree. Well, let's tackle our second one now. And you can see the same thing. We've got quite a thick taproot going down. We have some surface roots, not a whole lot up here. So we're just going to reduce the taproot down to a point, and I think about here. So I took about half the taproot off, and the rest of the roots we'll keep. We'll just prune these lower ones back a little, and that's maybe these ones too, not our surface roots. Keep those untouched. How about there? So that's it for that tree. You can see this tree, the main leader has died off, and there's been two side shoots have sprouted, and they're 2 leaders now. So we'll keep that. We're not going to touch the top of the trees for now until they've start growing really nicely. Okay, so it's time to get them in a pot now. So I'll wash the pot, and we'll get some bonsai soil in it, and we'll come back. Okay, so I've got the pot filled about, not to the top, but enough room for our trees. and we'll put our larger tree in first. And we'll make sure we've got our roots combed out the best we can. Get them flat, radial. Remembering that these roots are all going to be surface roots someday, so you want to position them the best you can while they're young and flexible. It's not bad there. Just sorting them out again here. You stay over there. Yeah, that's pretty good. So then we'll fill it in with bonsai soil. Now my bonsai soil is a bit wet. In the last video, we had a sudden thunderstorm, and I forgot about my soil outside here. I got all my tools inside and closed all the car windows, and I forgot about my soil outside. So I've been trying to dry it out, but we haven't had much sunshine lately. It's been pretty cloudy, so it's still drying out. So I'm using wet soil, which doesn't flow in around the roots as nicely, but what can you do? So this pot, it really can only take the one tree in it. The roots pretty well filled the pot. So I'm going to put the smaller tree in a separate pot. I would have liked to keep them together, but I would rather grow a nice root system on each one. So keeping them in separate pots will do that. So the tree is getting more stable in the pot as I work the soil into the roots. And I think we'll get a lot of growth in this tree this year with the bonsai soil around the roots. It'll fill the pot with roots quite quickly, and probably grow quite strongly this year once it recovers. So after the tree's been repotted, you don't want to put it back in the full sun right away. I would keep it in a bright position where it gets early morning sun, late afternoon sun, but not the direct noonday sun, or it could burn the leaves until they get established, until the roots get established and start getting lots of moisture up to the leaves. Just a little more soil and this one will be done. So because we had all those spider web of roots, I held the tree up while I was putting the soil in, so the roots don't all bend up. So it keeps them in a nice, more of a horizontal plane. Yeah, the tree's getting pretty stable in the pot now. And because the tree's not wired in the pot, we're going to put some rocks on the surface to stop it blowing around in the wind until the tree gets grows all its roots again and is firm in the pot. Okay, so on to the next tree. Okay, so the same operation for this pot. I filled it partially with bonsai soil. We'll put the tree in and comb out the roots. And I think we're actually going to have to do a little more trimming. We're a little large here. There. I don't like that root growing downwards here. I'm going to take part of it off. Go away, mosquito. Yeah, that's better. Go away, mosquito. So we'll comb out our roots. Try and direct them as best we can. That looks pretty good. And again, I'll hold the tree while we put the soil in. And we'll start working the soil into the roots. And that's got that one. So this process is similar if you you started a tree from seed and left it grow in a pot for a couple of years. You can start training it as a bonsai. Some people start training seedlings almost right away. As soon as they get their first pair of mature leaves, they'll go in and root prune the taproot off and encourage their radial root spread to start quite early in the tree's life, the first year of its growth. I generally like to leave the tree grow from a seed for the first year, build up a strong enough root system to get it through the winter, and then in spring I'll cut that taproot off. So, and it's never too late. I mean, you can let the tree grow in the pot for 5 years and then start working on the root system, and eventually you'll get a nice root system. As I've said before, if you don't work on the root system, you won't get a good root system. It takes a lot of pruning and trimming. It's like the top of the tree. If you don't prune it, you'll end up with a full-size tree, not a bonsai tree. Okay, so we're going to give the trees a nice watering. Kind of settles the soil in around the roots. And so that's the work done for today on these trees. We're taking one of the largest leaf trees in this area and trying to make a bonsai tree out of it. So we'll be posting updates to these trees as we do more work to them in the future. For now, we're just going to let them grow this summer, reestablish their root system, and yeah, so Nigel Saunders for KW Bonsai. We'll see you next time.